Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Historia with your host Kim Gonzalez. In this episode, I want to present to you listeners a person who has built one of the fastest growing virtual staffing companies in the US. Her name is Andrea Stakes, CEO of Integra Virtual Staffing. Thank you so much for being on. I'm so excited to have you, Andrea.
Yes, Kim, I'm so excited. Being able to hear you and your story on starting the Historia podcast. I thought it was just incredible. So, at the end of the day, I'm excited to be able to hang out with another fellow Filipino who is just as awesome and just as innovative. So, super excited for today.
Wow, thank you so much. So, what I want to begin for my listeners is to have you introduce a little bit more about yourself. Please share with us where you're from and what you're working on today.
For sure. Well, I'm Andrea Stakes. I'm 23 years old. I'm based out of Richmond, Virginia. So I am the owner and CEO of Integria Virtual Staffing. So we're a business process outsourcing company. So essentially, I'm sourcing top talent from the Philippines to be able to outsource work for investors, entrepreneurs, business owners here in the States. So it's been a lot of fun, and I've been enjoying the journey and being able to see how many jobs I can give back home. So,
Yes, impressive. In such a young age, 23 years old, you have already started your own company, having those connections and a lot of jobs you're providing a lot of jobs to not only Filipinos but to other nationalities as well. So that's really phenomenal. Now, this time, I want you to describe a day in your life. Please give us a picture about what you do, what you usually do on a daily basis.
a day in my life. Well, it's Saturday today. I feel like the days really come together at this point, Um, every day, doesn't matter if it's the weekend, it's a Monday. I look forward to Mondays actually. But when you wake up and you just get excited because for me as an entrepreneur now, as a CEO who doesn't have a 9 to 5, I get to wake up really whenever. And before, if it was a Saturday or a Sunday and I didn't have work and I didn't have to clock in, man, I would sleep in. I wouldn't even wake up. But there's something different when you move into entrepreneurship because
Right.
your body and your mind literally wake you up and say, "Hey, it's time to go." So I'm always up, like no later than 8 o'clock. And when I do wake up, it's like you just realize there's so much in front of you that you have control over. So every day it's like I wake up, typically I'll check in. I'm at a really great point right now where I've delegated a lot of the tasks. So typically now I'm not really in the business. I'm going out to my leaders in my company and asking them for updates. So I get my updates, honestly just get to talk to them. From there, I'm usually thinking about what the next step in scaling for the business is. I'm looking into just ways for us to be creative and tapping into ways that I can give back, and then also ways that we can move forward. So there's always something new every single day. And the best part about it, though, is just being able to see my team and hang out with them, to be honest, because they're all my friends.
Amazing, fantastic. It. For some people, I think most people hate Mondays because they're like, oh no, it's Monday again. I hate this kind of,
Right.
when they have a job or they do something they don't like, they would say, oh no, I don't want to go again, or they're
Yep.
they're kind of forcing themselves into it. But I'm pumped up for Monday, so I'm so excited to do this thing. There's always new on this week. I wonder what will I be doing, or what my team's gonna be doing. So that's pretty awesome, and there's just a lot to look forward to especially when you like what you're doing, and I can see that you're really enjoying what you're doing right now. So that's awesome. Now,
Yes.
I want to go with your origin story. When we
Okay.
say origin story, um, we already mentioned that you are the CEO of fast growing company, hiring virtual assistants, um, doing real estate. What was your life before you started your own company? Before Integria virtual staffing was born?
Well, I wasn't born too long before the company was. So my life, if you really kind of think about it, your life really starts like 18. So I mean, I had a wonderful childhood. Mom and dad were fantastic, and at 18, ended up having my own, place. And with having your own place that young, you have to have a lot of jobs. So I had 3 jobs, and pretty much from then up until about 22, I was really just working all the time. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I dropped out of music school. I thought I was going to be a teacher for music or perform in music, and my dreams got crushed. And so I was like, my whole life has been about music. I'm never going to be able to, actually move forward and do anything else. Like, I'm not good at anything else because I never tried anything else. That was what I had. So I had my own limiting beliefs. And so eventually, with me working in the dental office at Best Buy and Ubering, I was like, well, let me just go into hygiene school and clean teeth. It's easy. You make a lot of money. I was like, I'm already kind of used to wearing scrubs. So went to hygiene school. So I was doing all of those things while living on my own. And then I ended up going to a real estate meeting, which was like, it's a RIA, which is the real estate investors association. They usually have them in a lot of different towns in the states, and what they do is they talk about the market. A lot of the realtors get together, they all just kind of network. And I didn't know what networking was. Like, I mean, I'd only talk to customers that come in or patients that come out, and it was like I never really knew that you could go to a place to network with people who all shared the same mindset that at the time I didn't have. They were talking about, generational wealth, financial freedom, entrepreneurship. I didn't know what an LLC was. I couldn't even spell LLC. So for me, I was like, this is crazy. Like, what is this world? And it opened up my eyes, and I said, wow, like, I don't want to clean teeth the rest of my life. And I don't want to, be stuck working 3 jobs 7 days a week. I said, you know what? I'm going to go all the way in. And I ended up cutting all my expenses, dropping Netflix, all of my Netflix movies. I wasn't allowed to listen to music. I cut it all off. I mean, that's only like $20 in subscriptions, but I'm talking about sold my Xbox, sold my clothes, sold my furniture, to a point where my apartment was, it was just a mattress on the floor and kitchen utensils. So I was like, well, it's time. I don't have anything else to sell. And I was using all that money to fund the business, software systems, my first virtual assistant. And then from there, moved back in with my parents, something I said I'd never do. Moved back in with the parents, and then ended up renting a couch for 200 bucks. And then at that point, all the money that I was saving from not having to pay my rent was put into the business. And as we grew, essentially, I found I had a friend who needed his auntie from Jamaica to be trained in virtual staffing, or essentially the real estate side of it. And then from there, we ended up working together. They trained her up on real estate, on everything in regards to cold calling, and they marketed to properties, ended up getting a deal and closed on it and were successful. So I realized, like, wow, like, me and my assistant just trained someone else to do the same thing we're trying to do, and that worked instead of wholesaling. So I said, maybe we should try to do that again. And he brought 2 people to us. So then all of a sudden I had 2 people who were like, Andrea, I don't have an auntie in Jamaica. I want a virtual assistant from the Philippines. So from there, my virtual assistant went and reached out into her network, found some people. We were able to give 2 people jobs, and then they did great. And then they brought 4 people, and 4 turned into 16. And it was just word of mouth since then. So I realized, my biggest lesson is, if yes, you can get a job somewhere and it can pay well, or it might seem like the right thing to do, but if it doesn't fit your gut feeling, just as wholesaling wasn't fitting my gut feeling, cleaning teeth wasn't fitting my gut feeling, I realized when this opportunity fell into my lap to source talent from the Philippines, train them, and find great clients for them, I was like, this is all fitting perfectly. And you get that feeling, and I was like, I got to run with it. So everyone's like, you're crazy, but I ran with it, and then that was pretty much how Integria started and how we've been able to grow. We went from one Jamaican virtual assistant to two Filipino virtual assistants to now I'm blessed enough to say that my team's at 125 virtual assistants in the Philippines, 125 people in the Philippines who have jobs because of the company in about just a year. So
My gosh, I'm so amazed that all these distractions you literally eliminated them, burning that
yeah,
burning that bridge where you uh eliminated your Netflix, sold your Xbox, all those things. You even went to the extremes, right? You even worked how many jobs? Four jobs at the same time, 7 days a week. No
right.
rest days, no leisure. It's hard for a person to do all those things, and at the same time, you're funding your own business. You're at first you're alone. I'm not sure if you're alone, but you're kind of a one man team, and then eventually it grew and it became that Integria virtual staffing we know today. So that's super amazing. Love that. Now, all right. Now that you've spent your time building uh, Integria, Integria virtual staffing. So, what is something you wish you knew before you launched?
Something I wish I knew would definitely be to understand that you can definitely bring people into your business and love them. I love, love, love my people. I have so much love for them. But you also have to remember there is a line between like nepotism and also structure, right? Having structure, having policy. For me, I feel like I definitely put a lot of trust in a lot of different people. And sometimes when you hold on too loosely or you don't you realize that there's an issue and a bottleneck and you don't go into that like, hey, I'm a CEO, I need to like say let's get serious, let's focus on the structure. um, you can run into problems where things aren't going to move forward. So I really wish I knew that, Andrea, this is so much fun. You're hanging out with other young women, you're starting a business, and that's just my personality. I love to have fun. But I also wish I knew, like, hey, you need to have SOPs in place and you need to be disciplined and you need to make sure that everyone is being held accountable. And so that was one of my biggest like lessons I learned, was to make sure that yes, we can create a business that's not like a typical BPO structure company. We can create a business where it has rules in place, but also still keep the culture, keep the fun, keep the energy. So it took me a while to find the beautiful place in between the two, but now it feels a lot better, but it would have been a lot easier if I knew ahead of time. So,
Oh, it's important to do you know the boundary between
mhm.
that those kinds of relationships. So yes, if you especially if you're a people person, it's really hard. I can relate to this. It's very hard to draw a line between them, especially if you're really attached to those persons. You already love them, and you know it's so much fun. There's a lot of learning already, and you spent your time, your memories together. So it's really hard to create that boundary sometimes. Indeed. So that's awesome. Going back to the to your story, your origin story. Now, on the day that you flipped the switch, what made you say that? Oh, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm building Integra virtual staffing. What really motivated you to start? You know, flip that switch.
Yeah. For me, when it flipped, and I remember my mindset and everything was like literally like a snap of your fingers. It was just the next second I said, I'm ready to go. Like a fire was lit inside my belly, and I said, I have to push and I will do everything in my power to make sure I get what I want. And that was something I committed myself to. I said, I don't care if I need to put money into my business and not make any money out of it for the next 3, 4, 5 months. I said, I don't care because this is what I wanted, right? Something that motivated me was one, I was really broke. I didn't have any money. And also, I said, I've already dropped out of the good job. I've already dropped out of school. I've already disappointed my parents. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. And honestly, I kind of wanted to prove everybody wrong. And I held on to that mentality for a while of the like, I'm going to prove everyone wrong. And it worked. Trust me. On those nights that like, I was like, I want to give up. I was like, oh, so everyone's going to, just say, oh yeah, that's what we expect. Filipino moms are going to be like, oh, you see, I told you shut up in a doctor. And and I would have been like, Ma, you're right. And I was like, I'm never telling my mom that. I love my mom, and it's all love when they do that. So I've come to a point where when I did prove people wrong and started the company was successful, I realized, hold on, like, yes, I can. I've held on to that feeling of like, that first initial push of like, okay, I'm gonna do this because I'm gonna be able to show them. But I realized I didn't want it to be out of spite or out of like, any kind of ill feelings or ill will. I wanted it to be, I was able to prove people wrong, and I'm hoping to inspire people, not be like, yeah, in your face, or I told you so. I went ahead and I said, I'm going to forgive any kind of feelings or anything that was said to me by anyone, family, friends, coworkers, that was maybe disrespectful or rude or disencouraging. And I said, I'm going to forgive everyone, and I'm going to say, maybe I can be an example or something for you to look at and be inspired by. I didn't want to hold on to that I'm proving everyone wrong mentality. So, yes, that motivated me, but now what motivates me is really when I tap into my why. And my why is to empower as many, people, regardless if they're investors or, people back home who are working for my company. I want to empower people, inspire them that they can really tap into their power and, literally do anything that they want. I tell my investors, like, yes, you can wholesale right now, but what is your wholesale money going to be funding? Are you going to open up that, beauty salon that you've always wanted to? Are you going to be opening up the barbecue shop that you've been wanting to do? Or maybe for my, my contractors, people in the Philippines, I tell them, okay, integrity is part of your journey, but what is this hustle? What is it funding? Is it funding your side hustle? And what is that? Do you want to be the biggest bullet shop in the whole Philippines and have the best bullets, and you want to do that and that's your dream? Do it. There's nothing stopping you. And I say, you can look at my story, and I am a resource for you to be able to show you that you can do anything that you want. So yes, I used to tap into the what motivated me. I want to prove everyone wrong, but now it's a lot different because it's way more meaningful. Because if you notice, before, I am going to prove everyone wrong is just me, and that's inward focused energy, and it works. It gets you through the hard stuff. You got to be that way. But when you start having outward focus, like, I want this for you and everyone, that's when you're tapping into the energy of everyone else around you. And that's why I feel like I need more motivation now than I did before, and it's working. So
Wow. Like, I'm actually experiencing this. You know, my relatives, my parents wanted me to become a fireman because, um, you know, the pay was great, and you know, there's a lot of benefit into it. But I want to grow on this podcast. I wanted this to be one of the biggest podcasts in the Philippines. I really have a great vision for this. So and so it's super hard that, sometimes they really have to tell you that, oh, you have to,
yeah,
there's that kind of pressure, that's, you know that they've been telling you about this kind of path that you're taking. But I wanted to do different and
yeah.
burn the
And you
bridges.
are. You
Yes.
are. And guess what? We get to speak it into existence, because whenever we speak something into existence, I tell you it will always come true. I used to wake up and I say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm not going to have to clock in for another job. Kim, the Historia podcast is going to be the biggest podcast in the Philippines. and we're speaking into existence because it is, and you have like the best personality for it. And that's just what happens when someone says, even if the whole world is against us, regardless if it's against us because we're minorities, or if it's against us just because of anything in general, like, we're going to be able to push through and always be able to do anything that we really want to. So
Right. There's a lot of challenges. It's heartbreaking sometimes. It can sometimes demotivate you, you know, push you to the. It would if you really think about it, it's so depressing. It's so you're you're you really have to do the choice because of these external factors, right? So
right.
during the early stage of your entrepreneurial journey, I'm very sure that you also had your own setbacks and failures, and you mentioned that one of those is yeah, basically telling you, or you know, those people telling you to do this or do that, right? Also, some insecurities, right? So talk to me about one scenario where you really are holding yourself back, and how did you overcome that scenario?
With myself and like my insecurities, I would say when I did first start, there was a huge one, right? Um, I came from a place where I've never had management experience. I've never been a manager ever in any of my jobs. I applied. I always wanted to grow, but I never got to get promoted. I've never really been promoted at all. Um, and I had never led people as a manager. I've always been an employee. And when I started to build my team and actually started keeping people on my team to grow it within my company, I realized, wow, like, I have to manage these people. I have to make sure that they're clocking in. I have to make sure I'm a good leader. And it was that moment of, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I can scale up an agency. Because before I was just headhunting. I would find great talent, pair them up, and I'd say, bye, have a great one. I'll never see you again. And it was just like that. But now I'm like, oh, my clients and my VAs come in every single day, and I'm just the middleman now. And I said, that's a lot of responsibility. It's not even the responsibility of the business, it's a responsibility of knowing that you have to make sure that this person is being accountable. You're being a great role model for them, representing them and helping them, come in and align with your structure. And I said, that's like management material, and I never had that qualification. I mean, I took only a semester or two of college. That's it. I didn't even pass freshman year. So like I was like, where am I going to take all of these skills from? How am I going to be a manager without all this? And I realized, hold on, and dang, you're just getting in your own head, because I can be a manager. Doesn't mean I need to have experience. I mean, I started a freaking company without having an experience on what an LLC was, or how to even open up a business bank account. Like, I learned it, and I was like, I can learn how to be a manager. And I said, on top of that, I've also known managers. I've been an employee, and I know what it was like to be an employee, and I know exactly how I wanted to be treated, and I knew what structure worked well with me. So all I did was just take all of the, essentially, my skills and my experiences as an employee, and I flipped it into thinking, how can I structure this for my people now? And then all the other management things came along the way. And of course, those are when you get those little bottlenecks, you're like, oh, I should have probably had a rule for that, need a rule for that went wrong, need a rule for that. And a lot of the times, you think it's a lot, but really it's just documenting problems that happen to make sure they don't happen again. That's all rules are. And so it helps with the fires. And now, it's awesome that we have an entire employee handbook. It's like 30 pages. I never thought I would be able to have something like that. I mean, I never even read mine when I was getting in jobs. So probably the insecurity of like, oh, I can't do that. And then I realized, no, I can. I can. It's just that it's not going to be beautiful. It's not going to be perfect. When I do it the first time, it's not going to be good at all. But I can always improve. So,
Yeah, I can totally relate when you mentioned about management because
yeah.
totally for sure it's you know me too. As an employee, I don't know anything about management. I only had my experience as a customer service representative back in
Right.
the days, and then moved on to teaching. And no, I don't have any experience or any knowledge about managing something. But eventually, as I do my podcast, I also became a manager. I became my own social media manager. I'm I'm an I'm an appointment setter.
Yeah.
All these admin, all those kinds of tasks. So basically, I'm a one man team. So a lot of tasks. It's really difficult if um you really have to do them at the same time. So, and it's also kind of um difficult to maintain for sure. So I'm glad that you're able to overcome it, and it really serves an inspiration to those people who want to be entrepreneurs, and um a lot of people who are aspiring to be one. Okay, so that's really awesome. Now, as the CEO of your company, what does the term leadership mean to you?
Leadership was one that I thought had to be, a term that fell into um, a lot of like rules. Leadership is hard. Leadership is strict. And I realized leadership is just actually really simple. Leadership doesn't have to follow the rules. Leadership isn't something that's totally in line with your SOPs or your process. Leadership isn't even making sure people are coming in on time. I think leadership falls directly in line with empowering people. Leadership falls in line with the culture. If you want to show up as a leader, you have to make sure that you show up in a way that makes people excited, makes people, want to come in and want to do better. And leadership is inspiring. Leadership is a place where, people are feeling safe, people feel secure, people feel like they can come to you for questions so that they can grow. Leadership is a place where people feel like they can fail with you, in front of you, and be okay with that because as a leader, you can show them how to succeed. So, leadership is not as strict and scary as I thought it was. I mean, you see it on boards, you see it in resumes, job applications, or job postings. Needs leadership skills. Leadership skills is not who can boss somebody around. Leadership is says who can set the path for everyone to be able to follow and be comfortable and safe behind. And I think that it's totally, totally in line with, good leadership creates good culture, and good culture is good leadership. So,
Yes. And also, you're setting up as an example. You yourself must be an example to your team. You have to be
yeah,
exciting. Uh, it also, it is your character, and then it's kind of spreading out throughout your whole, um, your entire company, your entire team, right? And I also think that leadership is kind of you're working for them, because
right.
you're also responsible for their uh salaries, their well-being, and how they want to grow. So it's actually um reverse, right? So when they when people think that when you're a leader they work for you, but actually you're working for them because you have a lot of responsibilities. You have to take care of
Exactly.
them to grow into uh their their better place, right? So that's a lot indeed.
Exactly. I love that.
So all right, here's an interesting thing. There are so many people, right, who are posting pictures of themselves, flashing their money, oh, right,
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 right.
or showing their Lambo. So what are your thoughts about flexing on social media?
Flexing on social media. Oh man, that's so funny. Well, here's my thing. Um, I believe that if you get to a point where you are celebrating success, right? Maybe celebrating success looks like flashing something or dressing nice, and some days I want to dress nice, and some days I want to look like a hot mess, and that's okay. But what we show on social media is of course a reflection of you, and people can make social media look so sexy, but you find out that all that stuff's rented, all that stuff's not real. They're
Yeah.
just borrowing it, and it's not really a thing. And I just believe that they can do whatever they want. I might flash that I'm going on a trip. I might flash that like I just had a huge celebration. And that's just maybe the way I celebrate. And if someone wants to celebrate and be super, flashy about it, maybe they've never had something like that before in their lives and they want to. But at the end of the day, I think that celebrations come in the form of, hey, here's my daughter dancing, and she's my biggest celebration because I made that thing, and she's incredible. And maybe that is more of a celebration than a Lambo. But maybe the dude with the Lambo doesn't have a daughter, and he's like, this is my baby. And that's what he wants to flash. And I just think that at the end of the day, I kind of mind my own business. And I also know, like, I mean, the company name is Integria. I think that everything should be aligned with integrity inside and outside of my company. And, if you have flashy stuff, if I find you and see you on the streets, I would hope that you got the same Lambo and you keep the same energy. So it is what it is. I guess my take on it is you do your thing because I'm doing mine. So,
Right. Oh, that's really cool because I as a person I'm who's into personal development. You'll always see those people. You'll always see those people who are, oh, I'm this an entrepreneur who made this seven million seven figure income, right? Right, and then they're flashing the Lambo, and then they're kind of selling something to you, just make their way look more appealing so that they can sell something, or you know it can be toxic sometimes, um for me, because especially if you know how they got it. I think that's what's also important, is how
right.
they were able to attain that kind of wealth, or how they flash it, or how they manage to get that Lambo. So, for example, it's rented, right? As just like as you mentioned, right? So you're kind of faking yourself out, and it's like you're the only one fooling yourself.
Yep.
Indeed,
Yep.
yeah. And that, and I also look at the profiles of those people who are far more successful than them. For example, Mark Zuckerberg, right? He posts pictures about his family. It's not about it's not about Lamborghini or having a lot of money. Sometimes just flashing what really matters to you. That's really important. Yeah.
Yep. It just depends. If that's your
Correct.
thing, that's your thing. But I think there's always levels to it. You hear about like the billionaire who drives a Toyota and the guy who's got his first six figure check, and now he's buying his whatever car. And if people want to celebrate and use their money that way, they can. But I think that if you want to be humble, be humble. If you want to flex, you flex. I would just hope that you're just being
Right.
smart about it. And you never know. I feel like the way that people look at it, if I'm to look at somebody right now and see someone who has a nice house, 3 Teslas, something crazy like that, I'd be like, wow, that's great. And like, it would be awesome to have 3 Teslas. I'd like to have one Tesla. And at the end of the day, I don't look at it in a way of like, oh, any kind of bad way. I think it's a great source of motivation, but I think that at the end of the day, you're creating your own story and your followers are your followers, and that's who you should flex for. And if you're flexing, literally like actually flexing and posting a picture of you flexing, that's your flex. Or if you're flexing a car or family, you do your thing, and your
Right.
people who want to see what they want to see are going to want to see it because it's you. So,
Indeed. Just mind your own business, and their lives have nothing to do with you, right? So, right, going back to your work culture, as a leader, how do you motivate your employees? Like, for example, there are some employees who are kind of, oh no, I'm not gonna do this anymore, or they're kind of unmotivated for some days, and then uh, you know, they're not on their right mind, or they're uh, for some reason. So how would you get them back into their um, you know correct mindset, and how do you motivate them?
Yeah, so I believe in this. Everyone says don't bring your personal life into work, and when you come home, that don't bring your work life here into the household kind of thing. Everything's going to affect everything. Your personal life will affect your work life, and you will bring it into your work. And if you're going to work and it sucks and you hate your job, you will bring that home to your family. And at the end of the day, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're all stuck in the house. We're not allowed to go outside. At the end of the day, there's a lot of emotions happening right now. And it's not easy for you to wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I can't wake up today. I can't wait to wake up and cold call and get on the phones for 8 hours. Like, we don't wake up and just do that. You wake up and you feel excited to come into work because you have great people to work with, colleagues, coworkers, batchmates, and managers. You have a lot of people who motivate you, and it's the culture that will. It's not the waking up and saying I'm excited for work. But when I do have people who are like, and dang, maybe somebody's died, and dang, I'm just feeling sick, and dang, this is happening to me. As long as you're there to listen, that's sometimes all you need. If I need to make a adjustment or if I need to help somebody, we will. But a lot of the times, I want their work to be the thing that they look forward to coming into. If you create an environment where sometimes they are escaping their reality to come into work so they can feel good and hopefully take some of the good energy back with them home, that's the kind of environment you should create. Because at that point, when someone does feel demotivated, they're coming into a place where it's just positive reinforcement. Like, we're here to help you. Granted, I need you to be at your performance. I need you to be here at 100%. If you need time off, you communicate with us and we have great communication. But you have to take care of yourself. We're not robots. We're not magical people. We're not, Filipinos are hustlers. We're hustlers, but we're still human and we need to take care of ourselves. So I think it's just open communication and we get to talk about it and just them knowing that they can reach out. I've met every single person that's come into the company, every single person individually, and I never won't meet somebody. And they should know from the start. I always tell them, you know, we're human. You need to have communication. And if you're feeling like this way, you have multiple people to come to, and especially me. So that's kind of the communication that we have. Whenever someone's feeling down, I mean, just on a monthly basis, we have parties. So we always have a party once a month. It's usually themed. Like, we're having a Mother's Day party this month, and it's gonna be, yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and it's gonna be pajama themed. They're gonna bring all their babies and just take photos. I have my essentially my mentor comes in. She speaks. Her name's Tisha. She speaks on, like, stuff that's not work related, just personal development, growth, emotional intelligence, growth, stuff like that. And so I give them an opportunity to grow as an individual and also talk about anything that's happening. So I guess that's how we motivate people, and it's just case by case. But most of the times, you won't have a case unless it's communicated. So
Yes. So the key to motivating your employees is actually communication. Communicating
100%.
most of the time, or not. Sometimes there's actually I wouldn't say all of the time, but yeah, most of the time you really have to communicate with the people around you, your co-workers, or your managers, your boss. Yes, fantastic. Now, now, you know, you're now very successful. Your company is fast growing. I'd like to know what's next. Like, what are your long term goals, or what are some, what's next into your life? Like, how would you envision yourself for the next few years?
Wow. In the next couple years, I want to be able to, I would hope COVID's over. So I would want to come to the Philippines and walk in any major city, whether it's Manila, Cebu, and be able to be in the middle of downtown and look up and be able to see one of the big buildings, Integrity at the top, and be
Oh,
able to walk in and every floor that I go up, see all of my employees there, thriving, having fun, doing work, being in a safe environment, be able to come to the top and see all of my people who have been with me from the start in executive offices and suites, just managing everything. And I want to see that across the Philippines, a place where, hey, do you work for Integra? Oh, me too. Like, I work at this location. I want people to be like, hey, have you heard about this company? And I want them to be excited to talk about it. Not like, oh, I'm working for this company. And they're like, oh, I heard
Oh.
about that. And I know we have a lot to say about other companies. I want people to be like, I work for Integra. I work there, and I want them to rep it. And I want that to be the Philippines. I imagine thousands and thousands of employees in each office, and thousands of people having great HMO, thousands of people being able to work. Even if it's not in the cities, I want to have a building in the provinces. Like, I want to give opportunities to people who aren't just in the city. I want to see a lot of people still being able to work from home. So I see a lot of expansion, a lot of things in different niches. I think that the business process outsourcing is great because, yeah, I'm a business process outsourcing company and I specialize in niche down in real estate, but there's so many other business and opportunities to help people here in the States who need help and need great outsourcing, and a lot of jobs for people who are hard workers. So um, I just see a lot of growth and I don't plan on stopping. So I'm super excited for it.
Wow. I'm really excited for you going to the Philippines. There's really a ton of learning here, and a lot of cities are so exciting. A lot of beautiful sceneries, those kinds of and also you're seeing yourself having these billboards and saying, "Oh, the employees are like, oh, I work for Integra freelancers. I'm proud of it, right? I'm proud.
Yep.
I work here, and I'm going
Yep.
to stay here, right? So that's really amazing. Love that. Okay.
Yay.
One more thing. What are pieces of advice to people who are planning to become an entrepreneur or having these kinds of businesses?
The best advice I can give you is that you need to identify one thing. Like, what is that one thing? You need to stick to it. You can't say, I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to sell paintbrushes, and then be like, well, actually, I want to sell this instead. Or actually, I want to bake cakes. Like, you need to stick to one thing and you need to go hard at it. Because if you don't stick to one thing and you spread yourself out too thin, you're giving 20% to one business that will be successful, 20% to another business that would be successful. And it would take a long, long time and a lot more money to be able to start all five of those things at one time. When you could just put 100% of your efforts, literally waking up and breathing that one thing and sticking to it, you will find and you'll see results a lot faster. But I'll tell you what, when you start, you're not going to see results. It's not going to happen like quick. It's not. I mean, granted, I've been successful in a year. Those first like 3 months, it wasn't that
Yes.
like exciting. It wasn't. I mean, I realized it was. I was like, this is not going anywhere. It's kind of like you put a seed in the ground, you're watering, and you're like, the heck, I water you every day. Like, where are you? You're still in the soil. And then next thing you know, you wake up one day and then you start seeing it. Okay, now we're poking through. Now we're growing. Now we're starting to bloom. Now I have a plant that's producing X. Now I can make more. And you just have to remember you can't stop watering and pouring into yourself on that one thing. And you know, that's the best way I can say don't give up. Because when people say, "Oh, just don't give up, follow your dreams,"
Right.
you're like, "The heck, I don't want to." Like, you don't give up, like, really. And the reason why is because it'll come. Your flowers don't bloom the day that you plant them. So
Right. And you have I can say that you really have to be patient with that process because aside from watering that plant every day, there also comes waiting till that seed grows. until that seed becomes a tree and it bears fruit. So it really takes a long time. For me, uh, this whole podcast process, I've been patient, although it's very hard. It's too frustrating sometimes to be patient because you're not getting any results. But at the end of the day, when I take a look at my progress, at what I've done with my podcast, for example, with my graphic designs, I can see that we are improving little by little. So I'm really getting pumped up with that. So um, I think one more thing that I can add to is focus on that process where just keep hustling, and then along the way you'll be seeing growth, right? Although you're not
Right.
there yet, but as as you go along that journey, you're seeing that growth, and it really pumps you up. Yeah, so there we go.
I agree. I love that.
And one more, oh, last one. Where should we follow you on social media? On
Oh,
Instagram. Instagram,
uh,
it's
just
Integra freelancer.
Andrea. Well, I have two pages. So my personal one is Andrea.stakes. So Andrea.stakes. That is also my LinkedIn. That's also my Facebook, my Clubhouse. Like, that's everything. Just my name. I don't have anything fancy. Then my Instagram page for the business is Integria VA. So Integria VA is also on Facebook as just www.facebook.com/IntegriaVA, or Integria Freelancers Virtual Staffing is the company page. So
Nice. So,
yeah.
to all my listeners, please follow Miss Andrea Stakes. We mentioned her social media handles, Andrea Stakes, right? Andrea does with that or without that. Um,
Well, it's dot. It's a dot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Andrea Stakes on Instagram, and Integria VA on um, Instagram, also on Facebook. Yes. So
Yeah.
there we go. Kindly follow her. Okay. And I think that's it
Yes.
for tonight's episode. Thank you so much, Andrea, for being on. I really appreciate your insights. There's a ton of learning. I really appreciate it. I personally learned from your experience as well. So thank you so much.
Yes, I had such a great time. I'm so excited. It was an honor to be on the Historia podcast, one of the biggest podcasts in the Philippines, and I'm excited for your growth. And you know, I'm just excited to see what's going to happen. There's so much opportunity for us, and I appreciate you having me.
Yes. Thank
Thank you.
you.